Hey everyone, so welcome to another episode of Around the Table GTA. It's March 2021, and that means I definitely have to make a new episode. This month, I'm probably going to make 3. I might even do some back-to-back episodes. But last week, I was on the internet like usual, and I was watching this custom soccer game. I'm not gonna get too into it, but I was going through my Spotify and I heard Hard Times by Paramore, and I was like, you know what, this is a great topic to try and cover. So that's gonna be the topic of today, Hard Times. And the thing is, you could argue that we're already in hard times with everything that's going on in the world. I'm not saying the word, but you guys already know the word. I'm changing what I say because a lot of this stuff is going on YouTube now, so I don't want to get censored by the algorithm. And yeah, but we're already in hard times, especially with certain places that are still under a lockdown where I live. It's supposed to be lifted soon, but who knows? A lot of people here, we're experiencing a rotating lockdown, and it's really hard for those, especially those who left their job, people who have small businesses, people who got fired, people who are more extroverted, like myself. I'm extroverted, but because I'm working through the whole pandemic, mentally, it isn't affecting me as hard as some people, but even getting drained through constantly going to work and not being able to do much else can be a burnout as well. I have a strategy against that. For me, it's just taking days off within a certain time frame, or when I could feel that I'm not being myself or I'm acting kind of irrationally. But to say that we're not living in hard times would be kind of privileged, even though I don't really like that word. But it is difficult, as humans, being able to converse, communicate with each other, just being around other people, even if you're very introverted, helps decrease stress. And a lot of people aren't getting that interaction, and as much as being able to talk to people online or text or even have a phone call, hearing that person's voice, it's never the same as actually being in person with someone. And just to skim over like online dating, it's just like online dating, or even having internet friends, or I think a lot of people have experienced this, where you're talking to someone on the internet and they're completely different when they're in person. It could either be because they're shy, or they just have an internet persona and that's not how they really are. And that's lame. Luckily for me, most of the people that I've met through the internet are the same people in real life. So it's definitely an interesting time when you actually meet up with them. But this is just a reminder that, hard times never last. It can be a while. Sometimes it's years, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's days. A lot of things that we're dealing with these days are all based on your mindset, right? And obviously, some people are dealing with more than other people are, but at the same time, everyone has different stress levels. So something that might not be hard for you can be very hard for another person, right? It's just like someone who has stage fright. They could be very confident in the skill that they have, but as soon as they have a bunch of people staring at them and they have to say something, everything kind of breaks down, right? And that's kind of like hard times, where you're focusing on how everything is not working right, and everything is pretty chaotic. You just have to kind of say to yourself, sorry, I'm giggling because it's just like that dog picture where he's he's in the house and it's on fire and he just says it's fine, right? So, there's there's two ways to. It's not only two ways, but let's just say there's two ways to deal with a bad situation. You could be there and be panicking, or you could be like the dog and just say it's fine, but you don't want to sit there while and say it's fine. It's definitely not fine, right? But even if you have the mindset that it's fine, you have to, pick yourself up and make sure that it becomes fine, right? Um, you know, People have been living for a long time, right? Whether you believe the world is 2,000 years old, whether you believe the world is 1 billion years old, uh, whether you believe this isn't even real, it's a simulation. It has to been here for a while, right? We've had to be here for a while, and through history, through records, um, through research, we know that people are resilient, and even people who have barely anything can survive. They could be happy, they could strive. So when you're losing things that you've normally had, you have to kind of center yourself and try to remember what you're doing, what you're preparing yourself for, what are you trying to do, where are you trying to go, right? And maybe have that passion push you out of that depressive state, or even that mindset itself, right? Um, for me this year, a lot of things that I do aren't possible, right? And I have to be able to deal with that. And I'm dealing with that pretty well, especially being a person who um, plans a lot of events, goes to things spontaneously, just go on a random adventure because why not? I'm a type of person, I worked really hard. So when I do have my free time, I have fun really hard. Play hard, work hard, play hard type of dude, right? So um, even despite having work all the time, or, working 80 plus hours, which is regular hours because nothing straight, but doing a lot of overtime, not missing a lot of work. Like this year alone, I've only missed 2 days, and they were both planned. So, it was expected. And even last year, the amount of times I missed work was so little that I made a record amount of money that year. And if it wasn't the stresses of coronavirus, I could have probably worked more and made even more money, right? So it's not only about the money, but it's what you're going to do with the money, why you're working for that money. And if you're not able to achieve that, what else can you do to push yourself into what you are trying to achieve, right? A friend of mine went through something pretty traumatic, and sometimes when I talk to him about it, I'm like, well, do you miss the way your life used to be? And he says sometimes, but at the same time, because of what happened to him, his life is completely different, and it's changed his view on life in general. He's still the same person, like his character, right? But certain things that he believed, certain things that he didn't believe, certain things that he would do, it's not a thing he'll do anymore, and that's kind of the old him, and that's fine for him, right? He's happy with it. If he gets back to where he was in the past, he'll be okay with it, but he's completely fine with how he is now, and life is kind of better now, right? So sometimes we're fighting to keep something that isn't necessarily meant for us. And that's the challenge of hard times and change, because for things to get better, there has to be change, and things can't stay the same forever as well. Things are always changing, right? The seasons change, the times change, the weather changes, right? Even in the desert, it gets cold at night. So you have to adapt to that change, right? In the desert, it could be like 50 plus. And then when the sun goes down, it's minus 30, right? So at one point, you're dying of heat and you're looking for water. And then 12 hours later, you're wishing that heat could come back, right? So dealing with those times, dealing with that change is something that you can't run away from. You have to kind of embrace it, right? So things that you could do to do that is you can make a journal, right? You could have something that helps you keep your mind ready and set for your goals. Like for me, I think I've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again. I have like a desk calendar, and I just put that up so that I could see where I'm going. Like this month for myself, I realized like the last 2 months I spent a lot of money, and I usually do spend a lot of money at the start of the year just so that I don't have to worry about things that I want to do later in the year. It's already paid for. Plus, it's kind of like a mental trick for me where it's like, oh my gosh, I have no money. I need to save. I need to be cheap. I need to stop spending money. I got to break my credit card. I need to work harder so that I won't be broke, even though I know I'm not broke. But there's another kind of feeling. I don't know, like anyone who's been very poor or broke and then came into money through hard work, you know that drive, that feeling where I need to get to where I need to get to, right? A lot of people stop when they start making money or they made enough money. The street term is, they're not hungry anymore, right? You need to be hungry so that you could thrive, I talk to some of my friends and I talk about the it's okay people, and I don't really like it's okay people because being a it's okay person is being person who is, you're just content, right? Whatever happens, you just say it's okay. I try not to say I'm okay. I try to say anything other than that, right? Because for me, being okay is mediocre. Being okay is not being true to yourself. Like, what is okay? And if you're dealing with something and you're saying it's okay, that's kind of accepting what that is into your life and not doing anything about it, right? And I don't agree with that. Especially, like, I went through a pretty hard time in 2019. I always talk about it. Don't go too much into details about it. I will eventually, but the biggest thing that changed me was that I was talking to two different people, and one person was just telling me that, oh, this is okay, it's okay, you'll get used to it, blah, 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 right? And, at first it was kind of comforting because, when you're dealing with a situation, you should probably talk to someone who's you're comfortable with talking to, first of all. If you don't know anyone in your life where you're comfortable talking to, you could talk to a doctor or a therapist or whatever. Or you could even talk to someone who's experienced that kind of situation. So I chose two people who I knew were in a similar kind of situation, but not really, but they could relate to what I was going through, right? Because some people, they'll say, oh yeah, it's okay, or they understand what you're going through, but they don't understand what you're going through. And it's hard to talk to someone when they can't really empathize with you, right? Because they're saying, okay, yeah, and they're not even listening to what you're saying, right? So connecting with someone who could kind of get what you're saying, even if it's not exactly what you went through, but they've been in a scenario, it's really helpful. But back to the story, they said it's okay, and it's like, oh yeah, I experienced that too, and it's okay. And the other person that I was talking to dealt with kind of a scenario where it's been like a lifelong thing, and talking with this person really moved me and helped me with my recovery in that state, right? Because they were just very real with me, where some things you could get used to, but at the end of the day, it's up to you if you want to be used to it, or you want to let that part of your life that take over that part of your life, right? Some days will be good, some days will be horrible, but it's something that you have to deal with. And if you don't deal with it, a lot of the days will be worse than better. So it's up to you to make that change for yourself and figure out what's okay and what's not okay. And that really spoke to me, and it moved something in me that pushed me to get better faster, because I wasn't dealing with what was happening with me. I didn't want to deal with it, and I didn't want it to be a lifelong thing and stop me from where I see myself in the future. Just to shed a little bit of light on that, what I was dealing with, the regular recovery time would take the average person about a year to get over. But through those words and through persistence, I was fine in about 2 months, right? Just 8 weeks. So those are things that you have to look into when you're serious about change, you're serious about hard times, and you got to start planning, how am I going to get out of here? What you have to remember, what you're capable of doing. You have to remember where you're trying to go. You have to control yourself in the sense where it's like, oh man, this is really bad, but this isn't where I want to be, and this isn't where I want to go, and this is not the end for me. This is where there's a break. Maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I'm getting overwhelmed. Maybe I'm adding too many things in my life. Maybe I have to cut some stuff out of my life and refocus, right? Maybe I need to stop staying up all night and scrolling through Instagram, looking at memes, or in my YouTube hole, or passing out watching Netflix, doing nothing, and going outside and getting some fresh air, or changing my environment so that things change for the better, right? But yeah, before I get on a crazy ramble, I'm gonna pretty much end it here. I saw this really cool quote, so I'll kind of end it with that, where it says, it doesn't matter who you are, it matters what your plans are. So there's a lot of people who made a lot of changes in the world, and you might not know who they are, right? And they might not be significant to you. And certain people have done better things or less things, and you know who they are. It matters where you're going, and it matters how you're going to get there, right? People don't really care what happens in between. They just care about the end result, right? And that's something that I think a lot of people have to remember, where, when you're online, you're seeing the end result most of the time. You're not seeing the hard times. So Just remember that hard times are a part of life, just like anything else. No matter what you try to do, there will be hard times in your life. So do what you can to minimize those times. And when you're in them, remember you're there for a reason and you won't always be there. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Have a nice day. Have a nice week. And remember, hard times aren't always there to last.